Hey yo, this is another episode of the Steven from the Old Time Podcast. Listen to my dad, he's awesome.
Welcome to a new episode of Stephen from the All Time Podcast. I am your host, the Ayatollah of Hip Hop, the whole damn show, the rated R podcaster, and one half of the podcast tag team champions of the world. And tonight's special guest, he made a living off punching rappers, an actual wordsmith, one of the most vicious, eerie flows I've heard. Weapon X himself, the bully's back, Words is back, my Canadian brother, Words.
Yo, what's going on, bro?
How's
Mad
how you,
love, man.
yeah?
That was
How
a
you
that was
doing,
a
man?
hell
You
of,
good?
I'm pumped off that intro right there, bro. That was like, you know what I mean? That was the dopest intro ever, man. You feel like everybody knows me now.
Hey, when you're that special, that's what you deserve.
Word. All right. I'll accept that, man. But yo, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you bringing me onto the show to talk that shit.
Absolutely, and we're both from Canada, right? We gotta pay
Yeah,
respect to artists from Canada. I think in Canada sometimes we get overlooked, if
yeah,
we could say
definitely.
that. And when there's artists like yourself that put out great music, uh, that have created something for themselves, it's important for us to be able to talk about that. It's important for us to elaborate on an important artist like that, because I think of what's going on in hip hop right now, and hip hop being at a high level. To me, I think hip
Yeah.
hop's at a high level right now,
It,
and when
it's
an
a
MC like yourself comes around, and I know you've been doing this for a very long time, but right now you're at the top of your game. It's important for us to elaborate on that and be able to speak on that.
all right, word up, man. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of I mean, there's not a lot of focus and spotlight on Canada, um, especially for people. That's why I don't really, rep a spot in Canada. I just
Hmm.
keep it Canadian. Is unless you're from very specific places, the second you start repping a city then people aren't familiar with, people are more likely to kind of brush up. Oh, you're from some nobody city in Canada, so then you know what I mean, like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal,
Hmm.
maybe Halifax, then, nobody cares about anything else. So it's like, so Canada kind of has a harder time getting people to just pay attention to them. We get a little bit typecast right off the hop. So it's good when we can come together with other Canadian heads. There's some dope dudes doing their thing in the wave for sure. Some of the, I mean, Daniel Son was one of the kind of the he was there at the beginning of this whole thing, and he's been repping Toronto hard the whole way, man. So we have had some decent representation. Nicholas Craven, Ras Fresco, we've had some all right with some good representation, just not enough of it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So that's why this is important. Also doing shows, getting the name out there and stuff like that. Because I find underground hip hop, uh, it gets overlooked, especially from where I'm from. I find we don't get enough of it here. We're not able to put this style of music at the forefront.
Yeah, a lot of that now is just like the gentrification here in Canada. So a lot of the clubs and bars are being bought out by new age people who aren't down with hip hop. So there's not only is there not as many people actively trying to throw shows, but there's a lot less places to even do them, which they might kind of be relative to one another. So it's that's definitely something we need more of out here, is more live shit, more of a community. Unless you're really in, like I said, the hubs I was talking about,
Hmm.
it's a lot harder to find like a cultural hub type of city. There's only a couple of them here in Canada. So we gotta stick together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would definitely take Montreal out of that hub city. Montreal has died. I don't know when the last time
And
you were down here, but man,
dude,
for hip
long
hop
time,
shows,
long time, long
dead
time.
for hip hop shows.
And
Like,
that's sad to hear, man, because it's a good city. It used to be a very thriving city with a strong heartbeat. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's been a while since I've been out there, but to Montreal in specific. But yeah, I mean, Canada's taking a beating, but I mean, at the end of the day, thanks to the internet, social media, if we can't get it where we're at, we can go find it out there, right? You go find where you fit in, find where you can, work with dope dudes and people that want to listen to that shit. You know, it's harder to find it in the physical, but we can find it. on the online social media communities and shit. So I mean, that's where I found a lot of my love. Nobody gives a shit about me around where I'm from, bro. Nobody cares, bro. So but anyway, what's good, man? Thanks again for having me on, man.
Yo, absolutely, absolutely. Words is back has been a slogan for a while now, for a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah.
Why is that? Elaborate on that whole meaning. It's everywhere. It's in the music. It's on the Instagram pages.
All right, all
Uh,
right. I mean, because like you said, I've been doing this for a minute. So I mean, I've been doing it a long time, but then I got into a different lane and I kind of walked away from the conventional underground hip hop and I started doing walkout songs for pro fighters because as like Muay Thai fighting was a big
mhm,
part of my life, and it was physically a big part of my life for a really long time. I was actually competing and stuff. So when I kind of left conventional music to be like, I want to go see what other things might await me and kind of figure out who I was outside of that name words. And, you go through some shit. I've been doing that for so long that it was like I lost kind of sight of who I was as a person and who the MC was. Where does Andrew end and words begin and vice versa type shit. And I did that for a few years. And then because of, the 2020 shit that went on, a lot of fights were getting canceled all over the world. So a lot of things that I had in line, a lot of stuff that I'd put together, money and opportunities started falling apart. So I was just like, yo, I'm going to come back as words. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to come back and do this different. I really looked at the whole approach, the whole game, including my ego and my pride. Along with that, I really had to reevaluate things. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to come back, but I'm going to do this. Every lesson I ever learned the hard way back when, I'm going to apply that lesson to what I'm doing now, and a lot of that was eating humble pie and, kind of having to, swallow your pride and your ego and realize the roles you played in things up. So that was it. It was the statement that I was back because words had been around, if dudes who've been paying attention to the underground community for the last 15 years or so definitely have heard my name around the way.
mhm.
So it was a statement of saying I'm coming back. Words is back officially, and a lot of people. I wanted to let some doubters know that this was real. So I just went with words is back, and a lot of guys who've managed to come across me in the last few years, and I've brought a lot of new people in, a lot of new listeners and fans and shit. And they say, I don't know where you went to or where where you're coming back from, but we're glad that you're back. So,
Absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
I never thought about it in this way when I came up with that kind of little,
Slogan.
online moniker or whatever slogan. But at the same time, it's like it's intrigued the curiosity of people that are finding me for the first time. They're like, "What do you mean you're back?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I got mad music, son, like a lot of music." And then then they get into your back catalog and they're just like starting to realize, it's cool when they realize you're not a new cat and there's like all you've been doing dope shit and they've just been missing out on you for a long time, So yeah, man, essentially this is like the statement that I'm back doing it all different. And
Mhm.
obviously me doing that has worked in certain regards, and I'm at a certain place in my career that I'm happy with. And that's why we're having this discussion in the first place is, so yeah, man, I
You
did
used
it.
to you used to
Words is
battle
back.
rap.
Oh yeah, bro. I
That's
mean, that was,
important. That's important. And before you get into it, you could tell in your music that you were a battle
I
rapper.
hope so. I hope
Okay,
so.
you could tell the aggression, just the bars, the way you break up your words, your presence on a song. You could tell you were a
No
battle
doubt.
rapper. And I find sometimes battle rappers can't really make albums.
Well,
Okay?
that's why I didn't stick with the battle rapping, was specifically for that reason. Like I saw what was happening and I saw that, this I started battling in the really early 2000s, like getting into the freestyle battle scene 2002 when you had to be freestyling, like, you know, and I saw what was happening and I was like, you know what, I feel like if I only stay in this lane and I try and battle and keep doing that, you know,
Hmm.
then I'm going to end up typecast in a box and no one's ever going to take me seriously as an artist. And then that became a really easy decision to make after the kind of the transition from freestyle battling, off the dome, over beats, crowds going crazy. You have to be saying shit about your opponent that's specific to them, like their mismatched shoelaces or their hat, their crusty ass baseball hat, whatever. And letting the more you let the crowd know that you were just coming up with that off the dome, the more respect you got. And now it's pre-written. The crowd's told to be quiet. There's no beats. It's all a cappella. People know who they're battling 3 months in advance, and they get to go on the net and search up dirty things about them and come up with whether they're, I don't know, man. So I was never really with that formula and that format. I did it a couple times and it felt really hollow doing that, writing my rhymes. I was like, nah, I'm not with this, man. I don't like this. And because I didn't really take it that seriously, it was just easy for me to make albums. Battling I did over here. And I look at some guys, there was one dude, he ended up becoming the King of the Dot champion for a minute. And he's a Canadian guy. And I remember him and I having a conversation back in the day. And he was like, yo, you need to get back in the battle circuit. And I was like, nah, man, I don't want to get typecast like that. Because then if they just know me as a battle rapper on the internet, then that's all they're ever going to remember me as. It doesn't matter if I make dope albums. Mm-hmm. And that dude has tried to come out a couple times with albums and no one paid attention to them despite him being really dope, because no one cares about him making albums. They just want to see him doing his thing on the internet. And so it was a smart move. And, I feel like battling used to be fun and it used to be this thing we did everywhere we went. And now it's turned into this big business with corporate names, and they've made movies about it, and they've taken out the best parts, which was the off the dome freestyle right on the cuff. I've seen guys get booed out of battles for getting called out for, pulling out what people in the crowd knew to be written shit that they put on their songs before. And I've seen guys get booed right off and disqualified because it wasn't off the dome. So, it was a cool time to come up in, and I felt like it gave me that aggressive nature. It back then it was like, I seen some battles go real wrong, man, because it was very raw. There was no, there's no ref telling you all to be quiet and calming people down. I mean, we've all come to some fists in the freestyle battles. Definitely been in some fist fights. You say the wrong thing off the dome to the wrong guy who's having the wrong bad day, and shit happens. But it was like gladiator school, man. If you were really raw into the freestyle battling when it really counted, when it was more of like the culture, you couldn't go to a house party without someone throwing on an instrumental CD and a bunch of guys battling.
For sure.
And always, man, freestyle battles on the street corners, dudes beatboxing, people with the speakers with beats playing. It was everywhere. So those of us that really got into it, I feel like it taught us to compete with the wolves, man. Because like, if you, to anybody who made it anywhere in the battle circuit and who was taken seriously as a competitor, like went through some raw shit, and like you had to go against some scary people. You know what I mean? So it was like back then it was so raw that there was actual danger to it, but we did it anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like it taught us that to exist with the wolves, to be competitive, to be raw, to be unrelenting in our pursuit of what we're trying to do. So I mean, I learned a lot from it, but I'm glad that I didn't try and do it as
continuously.
Right, as a whole profession.
Yeah,
as a whole profession.
And it probably made you a stronger MC, being able to have two different views of the music into the hip hop, right? The battling and the album making, right? Because like I mentioned before, I find battle rappers, sometimes it's more difficult for them to make an album, right? Or people, like you said, pay attention to an album. Right. You went out there and you've continuously made really good projects. Like, and I find on Machine Mouth, you really showcase your battle rapping.
Yeah, so it's funny you mentioned that one, because that one was, that's how I approached it, right? That was the first music I made coming back as words. So those were originally for DJ Hunter's hip hop selection show on HFM, which was popping over the 2020, 2021 nonsense going on when everybody was in their houses. And that was when I was coming back, and I was like, I wanted to do something to test the waters and see if, because I came into this new wave, right? So I left around 2017 to do the walkout song thing and just do that and kind of take that. And when I came back around 2021, it was like everything had changed. It was a whole different landscape. So it was like I was just hearing about Griselda really for the first time and Conway the Machine, because I was like disconnected from hip hop and I was over here in the fight world. I was just paying attention to what was going on with One Championship and Yokkao and Bellator and Glory and anything with Muay Thai or like Muay Thai style kickboxing or Muay Thai style strikers. I was like all in that, right? So when I came back, everything was fresh and new. And I was hearing all this shit for the first time and this Griselda wave that was going on. I was like, I felt like those were the guys that you needed to impress, and not because you want to impress them, but because they're so picky over there. They're so deep into their love for Conway and Benny.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I figured the best way would be to rap on some of their favorite rappers' beats. And if I'm dope and they really liked it, if I can make the Griselda heads nod their head to someone who's not Griselda rapping on Griselda beats, then I figured, all right, then I'm doing the right thing. So we did this thing on Hunter's show called Machine Monday, and I'd make a couple of those and I'd send them in Sunday night, Monday morning, and just me rapping on Griselda or Conway beats. And man, I remember the first one was like, it was my first time putting out music to these new style fans, like not to this old hip hop I knew before 2017 and before. And I was losing my mind because I'm like, yo, these guys, my style's not going to be for these dudes anymore. You know, everything's changed. So I got really in my head because I felt like I was having to like impress it was like having to impress people all over again from the ground up.
Sell yourself, right?
Yes. Basically. And that was a really raw experience for me. And so, but we put those out and they aired and people started losing their mind. Who is this guy? Who is that? Like, who's this guy rapping on it? And so that project I approached like a mixtape. Like I'm just here to showcase skills. I'm not here to talk any subject matter. I'm not here to bring in any conceptual artistic shit. I'm here to just spit bars, and I have to come with my A game every time if I want to, really be testing the waters with these, hopefully to be new fans one day, and some of them stuck around and fuck with me and been fucking with me ever since. They've been rocking with me ever since. So that turned into the Machine Mouth thing, and it's just the Machine Mondays sessions turned into Machine Mouth. But essentially it was DJ Hunter and the Machine Mouth shit that kind of set it all off and like gave me that first little platform to test the waters and see, like, is it worth it me coming back and giving this my all and really jumping into this, both feet in the deep end, and so I'm glad I did, and here I am.
It worked.
So big up to DJ Hunter, man. Thanks, my bro, for putting me out there like that. He was the first dude that had never heard of me before who believed in me and heard me and was like, oh shit, you can rap, bro. You know what I mean?
But it's not only that you could rap, you showcase your battle rapping, but it's also the tone of your voice that sticks out, right? I think that's important too. Not having the same tone, not having the same flow as different artists, and you do that super well. Like you stick out amongst a lot of these artists, right?
It's changed over the years. I mean, I'll send you the discography, like just all the music, and you can go back. It's all labeled 2003, 2005. And so, dude, you'll hear it and just be like, oh, you can hear it as I just slowly over like the years find my voice more and more until I finally kind of, the raspy growly shit, I didn't even mean to do. I did it on a track in like 2016, maybe late 2015. And someone pointed it out to me. He's like, yo, man, what's with that that raspy, gritty growl you're doing on this track, man? It's dope. And I listened back and I was like, yo, I never really noticed that, but I like that. And then I just kind of naturally went with it. And, some songs I sound more rabid doggish than others.
It's eerie. Especially with the beats that you choose or the producers that you work with. And like you dropped this year 3, if I'm not mistaken, right? Weapon X with Haikyuu, Diesel Noi with Chuck Chan, and the latest one, Curse Words and Dark Hearts with Dark Arts, right?
Yeah, as far as new projects go, yeah, those are the 3, man.
You've been working with consistently with just one producer, right?
I've been trying to do that with every project, yeah, and
Do you
just
think that's
make it.
important and it's something you want to do going forward? Is it something
It's
just because of the relationships and how the music comes together?
it's something I mean, I notice other guys do it, but I'm doing it because if you look at my whole catalog prior was never one me and one producer. It was something I always wanted to do, and I just felt like I never found the right people, or maybe I wasn't looking to do it that way. I was getting too many beats from too many different people, but nonetheless, I never really did that. And then this time around, like I said, I was trying to do everything different than how I did it before. So before I did it, where all my albums were, all these different producers and all these different sounds and vibes and personalities and characters I got to deal with all coming in into the one project. And I was like, nah, this time I'm gonna do it where I'm every time I find a producer and I say, let's make an album together. Let's make an album together. Me and Q working together started. We knew we were in the same crew for a long time. We never got too deep in working with one another, although we had done some stuff through the years. And we connected. He hit me up and he's like, "Yo, if you want to make a track, I'm down." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I'm not really into making like one-off tracks right now. I'm down to, I'd like to make a little project with you. So maybe we can do a little EP." And then we made one track, and from the first joint, that was it. We're like, "Nah, we got to do a whole album." And I was like, "Well, I got this concept I've been sitting on for a few years that I've always kind of wanted to play with." And it's around Weapon X, and he's like, "Dude," and he just went off because he's a Marvel head, and I'm not even a big Marvel head. I just always connected with certain Marvel characters growing up because I always felt they were just savage badasses, lone misunderstood fucking black sheep from the wrong side of the tracks type dudes, man. You know what I mean? So the way I do my facial hair, the way my voice is, the way I'm always trying to scrap everybody, and I'm just first one leaping into battle, ready to just throw hands. So it's always been like I've been referenced as Logan or Wolverine a lot. So I was like, I rap like him too, hacking, slashing like Luke Cage said, right?
I
It's
love
that
it.
hacking, slashing, clawing rap or whatever,
It's a
man.
that was so amazing that you got Lukey on it because it adds to the album. It adds to the
Yes,
whole concept
yes,
behind it.
that's what I'm saying. That's why I brought him was because he has this character, man, and it's rare that you find people in this hip hop shit that bring a natural, unique flavor
Hmm.
that isn't gimmicky. Like Luke's not Luke. If you've had more than a 30-second interaction with Lukey, he's
Special.
he's that character. He's he's
Yeah.
very. So I was like, to be able to bring him on the album, I saw it in my head, the value I thought he could bring, and he was feeling the concept, so he came through and he did it. And as soon as I heard what he sent, I was like, "Oh man, this is genius! This is like the perfect break in the middle to bring in this character and lighten the vibration a little bit."
It
You
makes
know
it
what I
makes
mean?
the album something different. I've been saying this for a very long time. Skits, just those small little additions to your album make your
Mm.
album something different, right?
It's funny because there's a lot of people out there who are the opposite,
Oof.
and they don't want skits. They don't want that. They just want song after song after song. If it doesn't have raps on it and a beat of and they don't want to hear it. And so it's that's the as an artist, man, it's hard to it's like this quest as an artist. You want to make everybody happy. As soon as someone tells you you need to do more of something, you want to do more of it to just you want to try and make, you know what I mean? It's like this never ending quest to try and please everybody, but you can't please
You
everybody.
can't.
So no matter what you do, you're going to make the wrong move in someone's eyes.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
For
If I
sure.
do skits, there's going to be the guys who go, "Yo, Words never used to put skits on his shit. Now he's putting skits on everything." And then if I don't put skits on it, there's people going to go, "He's not growing, man. He needs to put more skits and bring more life to his album." So it's like, no matter what you do, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So
Uh, are you in the studio with them or with the producers, or it's something where they send you the beats and you guys
oh
just go
yeah.
back and forth?
Yeah, man. Haven't been able to connect fully with anyone near me. I don't
Hmm.
really live in the land of, you know, producer opportunities. And I'm definitely not trying to work with Joe Blomick guy who brings no value to the table aside from the beats he makes, man. Because I mean, like when I said I was doing this, the this is the last go, the last kick at the can, but it's got to be everything.
Hmm.
Everything had to be certain movements, and so there's certain people that I wanted to work with. There's certain people that I would like to have, but it wasn't good for the where I was trying to go. You know, so I had my eyes to work with certain people and or certain ideas I felt needed to come from certain avenues that would present themselves in the right time. And I had some guys from around the way, but man, it's sometimes it's hard because like you just know that you're doing a lot of favors for other people that aren't taking you somewhere, and it's like, you know, there's a certain time or there's a point in time where you got to just start looking out for yourself. And if something isn't good for where you're trying to go, even though it'd be dope to have someone close that I get in the studio with and we can make an album together. You know, I want to work with the dudes that like I look up to and guys that I look at as guys who are trying to, go places. So I mean, and when you're looking for guys with a certain level of drive or a certain level of experience that goes along with that drive and fire, the more you're looking for, the smaller that circle becomes, man. Because like there's lots of talented dudes, but there's not a lot of talent. There's not nearly as many talented dudes who are talented but putting in an equal amount of effort to the talent.
True.
So it really is, a different landscape when you're looking at things and you're like, there's no more time for mistakes. I'm a grown ass old ass man, so there's no more making mistakes and then rebuilding again and coming back at the age of 49 or some shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a full gray beard and
But it would make sense because of Weapon X and Wolverine, right? Logan.
Yeah.
It would it would make sense.
There's
But
only, I'm not that deep of a method actor, right? But so it's like a lot of the decisions when you're made when you know that this is when before you can make mistakes because you're like, okay, whatever lessons I learn, whatever mistakes I make, I'll learn and I'll just go next. But when there's no next time, you know what I mean? Everything has to be, thought of or looked at through a different lens. So every producer I worked with, every project I've gotten behind, every MC that I've been trying to collaborate or brought into my projects has been because that they fit part of what I see to be the bar that I've set as far as working with people that are motivated, driven, experienced, putting in that hard everyday work, willing to grind it out to really like make this shit work, because I mean, fuck, I wasted way too many years trying to see the best in people, hoping that I could motivate them or whatever. And, and give them opportunities or involve them in what I'm doing because I think they're dope and want to. But in the end, people are only as motivated as they are. So, when you're looking for people that are as driven as yourself or close to that, or, the talent pool, or the potential pool fucking gets really, really small.
Yeah, for sure.
So hats off to all my MCs and producers and dudes out there who are really going at this to try and do something with it, you know what I mean, and not wasting that talent, because there's a lot of dope dudes who don't do it hard enough and don't get hurt enough, and then therefore don't take it far enough.
Yeah, but it's the platforms like this, it's the platforms, the podcasts, like the Abyss, like myself, just even also the artists and the relationships that they have with certain other artists is to push them, have them on a feature, all these things, be able to collaborate in different ways, just so these artists that are not known could get known.
But to even be on their radar, you would have had to have put in a certain amount of work to have brought yourself to a certain amount of at least exposure to where these people would know who you are, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, because you knew who I was and we connected over, if I wasn't doing shit and I was lazing around waiting for opportunities to come, and you can write all the dopest raps you want and you can make all the dopest songs you want, but if you're not putting it out there and you're not doing it in a way that is going to, if you're not playing the game, you can be the dopest rapper and be recording 200 dope songs a year that sit in, but if they just sit on your hard drive or you put them on your Bandcamp page and 9 people hear them, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying, right? So it's like, that, you know, so that's got to speak volumes about the people I do choose to work with, though, like guys that you see on my records, all those guys, you know, whether it be Weapon X or Curse Words and Dark Hearts, you know, Matt Maddox, Lu Chin Chin, Jay Rhymes, you know, Strike, my boy White Lie, who's actually a local guy, Jay Carr. These are all people that put in a lot of work that I look at as guys who are really trying to grind it out, that are doing it different, that are really going at it. You know what I mean? So hats off to all those dudes. And I feel like as MCs, we should be all trying. The guys who are really trying to grind it out. If you look at any of the successful groups in this underground thing, whether that be Griselda, whether that be the Cloth, whether that be the Umbrella, the one thing that brought them all together was they all held each other down. They all supported each other, right? They weren't all snapping at each other like a bunch of hyenas. They came, it was a very, even if they weren't in the same crew, they were all very, they recognized each other's place and their role in things. And that helped to elevate things and actually give hip hop a touch of class. There was this whole group of dudes doing it, putting out records on labels and really representing New York and New York style and East Coast and the area hip hop we all grew up with, and really representing it on a bigger scale. That worked and was more digestible because they were all holding each other down. Everybody was working together and pushing each other. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of them. But I feel like there's a level of this where everybody wants their little piece, that people have lost sight of holding, that supporting each other is the only way that we elevate. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to show, and I'm trying to involve people that I see as equals and MCs that I see working hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, yeah, who I want to recognize their talent by putting their talent with my talent. You know, and showing other people who might not get to hear them, you know, who are buying an album from me, but then hear, say, Lu Chin Chin on 3 of my songs on different albums, or White Lie on a bunch or whatever, and then get them ears, because at the end of the day, man, we're all we've got. And it's very easy for guys to lose sight of that and, you know, and get lost in the overwhelming competitive nature of this underground thing, because it is very competitive. It's a blood sport. But if we don't find a balance and a line between us competing with one another and us trying to lift each other up, you know, then that whole level as a whole won't elevate. And that's what we need. We need to see constant elevations, or things get stale.
Working together for the end goal, and that's just making great music and being able to showcase great artists and great music, right?
And keep a representation of authenticity alive. You know what I mean? Because, like, regardless whether we like it or not, every year that goes by, we lose a little bit of what we came from, because generationally, eventually things will overlap and there will only be a small sliver holding up. You know, how many people are listening to 70 or making or have a community of 70s rock that is still doing it? I mean, eventually things will erode a little bit, but if we don't ourselves try and hold that up and keep pushing that old style of music, or the authentic, I don't want to say old style, that sounds very old.
Yeah,
it makes me feel very old. You know, that original style of hip hop, and trying to keep as much of that 5 elements representation alive, then we will start losing things faster than we need to, as far as, you know, because the young generation only has us to look to show them, like, the younger generation only has us to look to show them where we came from and what hip hop was, right? You know what I mean? Like, when I was growing up, if it wasn't for my parents, I wouldn't know that Green Day and Offspring and all these other bands and Nirvana wouldn't have existed without Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones. Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, for
sure.
You
know what I mean? So it's like, it's on us, and as us sticking together as artists, as a community, and always trying to hold up other talented people. You know, and I mean, I can talk about that till the end of days. Sure. You know, but people are going to be people. So, I mean, all I can try and do is represent a place where, if you're listening to me, You know, everything I'm trying to do is authentic. The people I'm working with are people that they're there, and I think everybody who listens to me should listen to them. You know, if you see their name on my record, that's somebody that's worthy of you going and checking out their catalog. You know,
To your point, hip hop has that they're able to do that. Artists are able to put featurings where you could see on the back of the CD or the vinyl the artist. You're listening and you're like, oh wait, who's this artist? Let me go check him out. Oh, this is his name. I'm gonna go check out his project. Hip hop has that opportunity to be able to showcase
right.
the artist, and it's amazing that you want to do that you want to elevate different artists. I think it's important, and I think in the time that we're in now with the artists now and the hip hop now, and I'm not talking about the commercial stuff, that's totally different
Yeah,
conversation.
of course. We're not.
I,
That's never in the discussion that we're
exactly.
having. It's never even on
Like,
the.
I find that hip hop is doing a great job right now.
That, oh,
Be
definitely.
right.
And thriving where it is right now, how it is it's doing really, really well, man. In keeping the street element of it alive, the raw energy. Um, you know, I feel like, you know, there's some things we need to work on as MCs, man. Like there's things that are okay now, or not okay, but they get passes now, like they would never have gotten passes back in the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of heavy biting, a
Oh, for
lot of
sure.
it, a lot of it, a lot. But I mean, open biting, and you know, and it's our job as MCs who are supposed to be purveyors of the authentic culture, who come from the time when that existed, to like call that shit out. And I feel like we don't, because the internet makes it where people are more hesitant to say shit, because it might divide fan bases. It might cause drama that comes onto their social media pages and upsets their balance. So I mean, it's like, but so I feel like because everybody's kind of looking out for their what we call their brand, we
Mm-hmm.
all like to, I think, because of social media, everybody's, the music is more than the music now. You're a brand now. Everything is a, you know, creating a brand and a rep, you know, a lot more shit's getting to pass because people don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to cause the shit, and we're now seeing a lot of shit that I'm just like, man, like, yo, how many, like, let's be real, like, how many people are gonna wear masks, man? Like, when did, there's a few guys who started, Mickey Diamond came with the ski mask from the very
Mm-hmm.
beginning, from the jump. You know, there's a lot of guys with wrestling masks and different masks. And I'm not trying to shit on people with them, but I'm just sitting here going, man. It used to be a time when an MC wouldn't even consider doing something that another MC had done. It was just faux pas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and now it's just, it, as people see that it's okay with, oh, these five guys are doing it, well, I'm going to do it too then, because if these five guys couldn't do it, someone would have called them out, and nobody's calling shit out. So, and this is just one example, and it's just, it makes me worry, not now, but like anything like that, when things that used to be rules, or used to be, you know, unwritten understandings, you know, start to slide, it becomes a slippery slope. So
Mm-hmm.
then what other things? We got 6ix9ine, we got guys snitching openly in court. I mean, there's a lot of things in hip hop that are happening in front of our eyes that would not have been acceptable or tolerated 15, 20, 25 years ago. So that's a concern I have for hip hop, as far as we're on a good trajectory, but it falls back in us coming together more as a culture. And it's hard to do that because social media gives everybody their own individual spotlight. So it's very hard for people to focus on the whole picture when they have this one spotlight in their own little world here. But if we don't come together as a culture to really represent things that used to be dear to us and enforcing those again, like biting, snitching, you know, rapping over your own vocals, you know.
That's something that's unacceptable. The
Yeah,
whole rapping over your own vocals is something that should have been taken care of a
battle
long
rapping
time.
when it's not off the dome. That's another one. These were rules, bro. I mean, like when I say I've seen guys get booed off stage and kicked out of a venue. I'm talking a high level thing in front of hundreds of people. booed out and thrown out. You're disqualified. And how do I know this? Because it was me he was going against, and I ended up getting the fucking dub, and I felt like a piece of shit because I don't want to get a dub by this guy getting caught spitting written lyrics. I want to get my dub by me doing what I do, bro. You
Absolutely.
know, I felt for Disaster when he lost or when he won against Cannabis without ever having to really. I was like, oh man, that would be the worst, bro. You know, you want to earn that shit as a competitor. You want to earn it, right? So having to lose that or having to win that way, you know, it imprinted on me. So I'll never forget that night. And then all of a sudden now that's the norm is writing shit. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. You just write it down, rehearse it. These are just things that used to hold the glue that held hip hop together. It used to separate the extraordinary from the ordinary. There's lots of guys who could rap, but they couldn't freestyle. So they stay out of the cypher, son. You know what I mean? Like this, that was the proving ground. That was the gladiator arena, man. It was in the cypher, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
And the deadliness, you know, or the deadly nature of your blade had to do with how sharp you were off the dome, man. And then that just stopped becoming the norm. So there's a place for everything, but I mean, at the end of the day, but it would be nice to see us come together and try and bring back some of the old ways again and really start implementing those and saying, nah, man, that ain't cool. Like, you know, there's a level of things where I'm like, the biting is a little out of hand. And it's like almost every level of biting you can see I've seen done in album work somewhere along the lines, man. And some of it, they were great music, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that would have got called out right away.
Wouldn't be acceptable.
So
right?
It's and like I said, it's not even that whatever, it's that as soon as you start accepting new norms and letting the bar lower a little bit, there's a whole episode of South Park about that, where the bar goes so deep they got to go get James Cameron to go get it because they've lowered the bar, so it can't go any lower. Like, so that's what I mean. It becomes a slippery slope, and then the bar just keeps getting lower because the norm is really nobody's enforcing what we would call our traditional norms or our conventional norms from where it started. Same thing happened with the mafia. Same thing happened with biker culture. Before you knew it, the old way is a memory, and now nothing is sacred anymore. So if we want things to remain sacred, it's on us to call it out, and we don't, which is unfortunate, because like it was almost like population control.
Well, it's the times we're in too, right? Everybody's sensitive.
That's right. And that's a hard adjustment.
It's like you're almost not allowed to call people out anymore. It's almost like you're not allowed to have certain conversations where it shouldn't be like that.
Well, because now everybody can see, people can look at somebody and see who they work with, who comments on the shit, who shares their shit, all of that, and get an idea for who they are, what opportunities that person might provide for you. So then before you know it, every person on your friends list or that you see in your follower list that comes up, you've in your mind figured out what everybody can do for you. So then it's like the idea, well, if I go with this guy, well, I know this guy works with this guy, and this guy.
Oh, for sure.
So all those opportunities will now be gone. So it's like anybody can kind of analyze and break down the potential domino effect of the consequences of saying the wrong thing or agreeing with the wrong person or dissing the wrong person. And nobody wants to take the risk anymore because they're more conscious of what the actual consequences might be.
For now, though, because I think everything might come full circle eventually. It's not going to always be like this.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. We just saw J. Cole apologize. And this is the first time I've spoken of this. I've never talked about this. I've never made a comment. I've never noticed nothing because I don't care about the drama, but I'm just saying as an example of how we might not be on the path we think we're on, because we just had J. Cole apologize to Kendrick Lamar 2 days after dissing him. And after like imagine if Jadakiss dissed 50 on Checkmate, and then came back 2 days later and was like, man, I ain't
Would
trying
never
to.
happen.
Right?
It would never happen.
Because it would be the end of him over. And J. Cole is now. Do you know how many men are going? J. Cole really stepped up and is really being a grown man about things. We need to stop perpetuating violence and all this other shit. And I'm like,
But it's because they're not really into the sport of hip hop.
no,
That's
it's
the
because they've been
problem.
drinking the water they've been drinking the
And
tap
that
water
too,
with the
absolutely.
fluoride in it, and they've been getting all estrogenated, and they're all like, well, I think everyone deserves equal opportunity, and we shouldn't be. Let's not be angry, guys. Two wrongs don't make a right, and now we got a very feminized.
Just don't listen to
hip-hop.
hip hop at that point. Just move on from
Bro, I'm not gonna throw the names because I'm not into that right now. But like, dude, at least two people that I have legendary respect for disappoint me on a monthly basis by saying some shit that I swear they would never. And they're always trying to make it sound like they've matured and I'm a grown man now with grown man perspectives and blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, that's the most cuck shit I ever heard, man. Using your age as a reason to justify becoming a cuck. It's crazy to me.
It's the times we're in. That's what happens.
That's-
You
but
read
that's-
into it. The people read into it too much now that it's like they need to act a certain way.
That's what that.
Just
well,
be yourself. Just
Right.
do you and go with the flow. You don't need to be something or go
Yo,
in that
it's-
direction just because everybody around you is doing it and people are telling you to do it. Right?
What it does is it's constantly crushing the views you have of these people
For
you
sure.
grew up idolizing. And I think that's actually one of the hardest parts of the last 4 years or so has been to have to lose respect for so many people that I was like, nah, not you too. No, not you too, bro. You know, and it was really hard to deal with. I mean, a lot of
Bullshit.
idols stopped being my idols, man. And
But it's and social
for many
media,
different reasons.
and to end this part of the conversation, it's social media and all these outlets that you have. You're able to see so many different lives
Yes.
of people,
Yes.
like you said, like you idolize, or
Yeah.
like people that you look up to, or like just you have so much information being thrown at you.
That's why I don't follow my idols on Instagram. Like if you look at who I follow, I don't follow all these guys I grew up listening to. I don't want to see all that. I don't want to. I got tired of seeing things that change the way I view people because I'm like, how I view you and like how I viewed you growing up had such an impact and it played such a role in who I ended up becoming that I was sick of the hurt that was causing me every time. I'm like, oh, you weren't really real. Oh man, you weren't really real. And so I stopped following or paying attention because I was like, you know what? Eventually I'm going to realize everything that ever inspired me to become an MC as a child was a lie, except maybe DMX, who was he's the only one who didn't let me down, bro. Like, he just kept it a buck all the way, right? Rode off into Valhalla. So I just got tired of it, and so I don't follow them because, like you said, man, it's too much of a window into what they think and the different versions of themselves as they evolve into different people over the course of years and shit. And I don't want to see all that because I just want to hang on to the memory of things that had the effect it had on me and who I became. I don't care who they are in 2023, 24 anymore. You know,
don't need that shit. You don't need that shit. Nobody needs that shit.
Especially the political views, man.
Oh, forget that, man.
Oh my lord. You know, we won't even go down that road. But yeah, that's the rappers. That's a whole problem that I don't know what happened. When did rap become for politics? I don't know. When did rap become about promoting politicians? It used to be the opposite, like don't vote, you know, stay in the hood and fucking support your people. The politicians don't care about you. And now they're like, yo, man, if you don't vote for the politician I want you to vote for, don't even bother listening to my music, man. Like, yo, bro.
Makes no sense. It makes no sense.
But anyway, yo, what have you been bumping recently, man? What's your go-to shit?
Right now, it's crazy because I find I don't have enough time with music and albums anymore because so much music is coming out.
That's a common problem, man.
It's
a lot of people complain about that.
Like every week, there's 2, 3, 4, 5 albums that come out, and I feel like I'm just racing against the time. It's like, okay, I gotta listen to this next, next,
Mhm.
and I can't really there's no breathing room, and then it's like I want to spend time with it, but hold on, this artist just came out with an album. I gotta go to
Yeah,
this artist. You know what I mean? So it's like juggling so much at the same time, and I feel like I don't have time for anything else. And sometimes I
this
miss out on artists.
bro, this is something I've spoken about in several interviews, that I was always why I didn't want to do high volume music, or was because I was like, man, it's like fans used to buy your album because you'd put out 1, 2 albums a year. They would buy it, but because they bought it and they paid you for it and they have it in the physical, they would put time aside to listen to it, to take it in, and to really give it the listen because they paid for it. So therefore, they want to make sure they got their money's worth. But because today we have music coming out so much and so often, and it's all on Spotify and people have access to it, they don't, number one, don't have to invest into the listen. So sometimes you might get them and they're able to take 30, 40 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and step aside. But most of the time, they're probably listening to it while they're doing the dishes, walking the dog, looking after the kids, doing something else, or something happens and they put it on pause. I'll go back to it later. But then 5 new albums come out that week and they never get to go back to your album. And because they didn't pay for it initially with money, they don't have that incentive to, like, in the back of their mind, go, yo, go back to that album you paid for and make sure you got your $15 worth or your $20 worth.
Mm-hmm.
So it's so easy for your album to get lost in the sea, and then people who wanted to listen to it not necessarily getting to listen. And even if they do, it's not, a lot of times, it's not a solid listen.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't, they're not sitting down like they would if they bought the disc and they throw it in the Discman, or buy it on iTunes for $12 and they put it in the MP3 player. When you pay for something, you want to know if you got your money's worth. If you didn't pay for it, you might get to it, you might not.
But that's why, like, my day off from work is Friday, and I think I chose that
That's a good
wisely,
day. That's a good day off to have,
so
man.
that so that
That's the dream.
I could stay home. My kids go to school, daycare. Yeah, exactly. And just listen to albums. Like I could stay all day. I put on my headphones. I don't put it in the background. I don't put it on the speaker. I put it in my headphones
Mhm.
and I just listen to albums consistently till I gotta go pick up my kids. So that's from 8 in the morning till about 2:20. Just consistently listening to music, diving deep into it. And when you ask me, what am I bumping? I can't answer you. I could give you the artist names, but there's so much I'm bumping at the same time
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I want to be able to sit with these albums and sit with these different artists and be able to just like grasp everything at the same time. And I've been doing that with your albums. Like the last couple of weeks, I keep going back to your albums. Like I'll listen to a couple of other albums, go back to yours. I love going back because that's how you know if the album is gonna stick with you, it's gonna resonate with you, and if it's special compared to other projects. I find that super important. Going back to an album after you listen to it to see what it brings and being able to see
Making an
things you didn't
album that
see the first 2 times you heard it, right?
making an album that anybody is even going to go back to a second time is a feat in itself,
Right?
because it means that it was good enough, or close to good enough, that they wanted to go back and see if they're going to like it a second time, as opposed to listening to it going skip, 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 skip. Yo, I don't like that. It's trash.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of fans talk to me about that and say, like I said, a lot of guys that are listening to me now are new, and a lot of that has to do with Bars Over BS and them putting me out. So big ups to them. I got to
Shout
give a
out to
huge
them.
shout out to them, because a lot of stuff is now. I was put into a position to be seen that I wasn't being seen before, and when you're dope, that's really all it's about. Is you just need people to see you, and then once they see you and hear you, then so a lot of guys have been coming at me that have been new, and a common theme has been that I'm like, to sum it up, a breath of fresh air,
Well, for
because
sure.
they're tired of the same stuff. Like, it sounds the same. It's almost like a formula is just being, and it's not a Cool G rap formula. If we had 50 guys putting out albums that were multi-syllabling and doing Cool G rap level fucking dualies, then I don't think we'd be complaining. But it's 70 BPM beats, saying the same shit we've heard Conway say 96 times and Benny. And then before that, we heard Prodigy say that and Cormega say that and Capone say that, you know. So it's like, that's really all I'm trying to focus on being is maintaining that perception in people's eyes, because I know that there's so much shit that is the same. And I really feel like now is the time that if you're an artist that wants to do something outside of the norm, now is not the time to do what everyone else is doing. Now is the time to do what you want to do and be. There was a time when emulating a formula worked, but that's coming to an end, because the formula only works as long as the fans are willing to accept said formula. Mm-hmm. But the fans are getting tired of it. They're getting done with this recycled formula that you know, Rock Marcy and Derringer and Alchemist made famous with their styles over the last 10, 15 years of making music, as that slowly evolved into what it's become now. That you have, I feel the umbrella is, the umbrella was the last wave of big wave collective shit, I believe. Mm-hmm. If you listen to a lot of their stuff, even a lot of their shit is more boom bap influenced, you know, more drums, more punchlines and shit like that.
Different producers as well. They're not always working with the same producers. I think that's super important. Is then that's how your music is not always going to be the same thing. Yeah. Just like yourself, you're working with different producers, and you mentioned before how you want to go in that route and how important it is, and that's why the music stands out, right? It's not always the same sound.
Here's the thing: if you make, say I make 5 albums and I use a mixture of producers. Those 5 albums, none of them will have a definitive sound. The only sound they will all be similar in the way that they don't have a definitive sound. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to curate here is to create my name association, a sound association with certain producers. So I want people, because there's a lot in the pipe, man. There's a lot. If the things you're seeing, there's only more of the same coming and even bigger. So I want people to go, this is the sound we can count on when Words makes an album with High Q. But when Words makes an album with Dark Arts, it's going to be the same level of dope, but it's going to be a different sound. With Q, it's more theatrical. There's more emotion. There's more swagger to it. There's more fucking around. There's more me playing around. With Dark Arts, it's right to business. It's dark as fuck. It's gritty. It's raw. There's no eerie happiness in it. It's eerie. It's ominous. It's Grim Reaperish. It's Curse Words and Dark Hearts. I don't think, you know, I've had a few people mention that the name was perfect, and I couldn't agree more. I think it, along with the artwork, it really came together to be one big presentation, and everything was a proper representation of the rest.
All your artwork, though, speaks for itself. All your artwork, when you look at that and you see just the cover art of your albums, you're like, okay, what am I getting myself into? Number one, is it a metal album or a hardcore album? But what am I really getting myself into? Right. And that's what happens with Curse Words and Dark Arts. It's like, fuck, what journey is this guy going to take me on?
Yeah.
Or this artist going to take me on?
That's what I want to do with everything I do, is I want to start taking people on journeys. By making certain sounding albums with certain producers, it means I'm making consistent music with consistent guys I'm familiar with and dope with and I have a chemistry with, but it means that my albums aren't sounding the same.
Exactly.
You know, like I have an album coming with Al Capella, you know, shout out to homie Al Capella, and that has its own sound, that it isn't nothing like what I do with High Q or what I do with Dark Arts, but it's the same shit. It's dope, it's lyrical, it's this, but it's a sound. That's the Al Capella and Words sound. And I want to keep doing that so that I can keep making high volumes of music, but because each one is a specific producer, it means each time I work with that guy, we have a certain sound together. So I could release 5 albums in a year, 6 albums in a year, like high quality albums with 3 producers. but the sounds are all different as I go through. You know, I do one with High Q, and then that sounds this way. I drop one with Dark Arts. Yo, it's dope, but it's a different sound. So it's like how do you be dope? How do you represent the hip hop you represent and not make it stale and not get boring?
And it has to do with, like you said, the cover art, the one producer. You go into recording with a different mindset with a different producer all the time.
Right.
So that's
All
what
these
stands out, and I find that super important. That you like. That's a lot of artists are doing that now, and I think that's why a lot of them are successful because of the one producer albums.
Yeah, and also I'm not doing things in between. So I'm not writing a couple songs and then doing some other shit and then going back and making a couple songs. I'm as soon as we're in this album, that's what I'm recording. You know, so Curse Words and Dark Arts was done in 5 days. Weapon X was done in 11 days or something like that.
That's crazy.
The sequel to Weapon X was done in a couple weeks. So it's like once I'm doing it, I'm just doing that. I'm gonna bang song after song after song after song every day until it's done. And that's the focus because I want it to have a sound. If you're in one frame of mind over here and you make a couple songs and then 2 weeks later you go back and make a couple more, but what else has happened in your life that it's changed your frame of mind? How do you so you know a couple guys they said there's a real flow about your albums and there's an energy to it, and I'm like, that's because I just sat down and made it. And like that's my hypothesis as to why you would have that sound is because there was nothing else in between. It was just me getting those beats, writing, recording, sending off the files, more beats, writing, recording, sending off the files, you know. So all those albums were just recorded almost as one, bang, 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 till it's done. Send the next producer, send more beats, and then I make the next album. And then that's done. I send it off, then I get the next beats, and I make the next album. It's
You write nothing down, right? Or
oh yeah, I write it all down.
yeah,
Of course. Oh yeah, yeah.
because it sounds like like the battle rapping conversation. It sounds like you're going in there and you're just boom, boom,
Oh no,
boom, 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 boom.
no.
It sounds like. Did you ever watch the movie The Mask?
Of
with
course.
with the guy with the bullets just going boom boom
Oh
boom
yeah,
boom boom.
yeah. With
It
Dave, what is his name?
sounds
Dorian.
exactly like that. It sounds like you're not writing anything down.
Word up. Well, I definitely am. And if I mean I can freestyle, I can do that whole thing very well, but it would not sound polished like that. There would be a lot of yo coming through, you ain't fucking with me. And that's how you can tell a real freestyle, man, is there's gonna be some repetition in there. There's gonna be every rapper's got their filler. Every one of us, the most common one is I'm coming through. That's the most common one you hear, yo,
Yeah,
I'm
of
coming
course.
through straight off the dome. Like, and if anybody who's being too perfect without a few repeats in there and a few things, little, red flags, then they wrote it and they're flexing it like a freestyle. Because no one's that dope that they can just spit it like it's a whole verse without there being a couple tells in there. You know what I mean? Like nobody is that good. Like I don't care who you are. You spit 2 or 3 freestyles in a row, you're gonna hear the same shit said a few times. Like no matter who you are, unless I don't know, man. I've never met anybody that was really freestyling and doesn't have the little tells.
So a lot of the people that say that they're freestyling could be bullshit.
They are bullshitting, man. It's when you hear someone go on a radio and they do and this is cool. I mean, it's always been this way. Like if you look on the back of like a Clue mixtape or some shit, or a J Love mixtape back in the day or something, and it said, Prodigy freestyle. I mean, it was just a random verse. That's what it.
Well, yeah, of course.
There's freestyle, which is like off the dome freestyle, which is like that. Get in the cipher. Motherfuckers will start throwing words at you, and if you ain't rhyming off the words, man, dudes will be like, "Yo, you're out, son." Boom, next guy up. And then there's freestyle, like industry freestyle. And I think that shit gets things a little fucked up because of radio style freestyles. A lot of people forget like the value of the off the dome freestyle. Like we were a different breed, bro. Like we came from a time where like that was the proving ground. Like was the cipher, man. Like no one it would be, you know, cool, man. You guys would do little rap songs and shit, but like there was a period of time where if you couldn't cut it in the cipher, you know, like everyone gets together at the show and 25, 30 of us are in the circle. You got your two main beatboxers, you know what I'm saying? And you couldn't step in the cipher and really kick it, or you stepped in the cipher and acted like an asshole. That was a one-way ticket to just not be like, yo, you're out, man. You're not accepted anymore. The cipher was a sacred place. The cipher was where you showed how dope you really were, because it was sacred. Only the creme de la creme could kick it off the top and do it. You know what I mean?
And you went through that to this
Bro,
point in your career.
Bro, I came up in jail. Like I did everything. I mean, from about 13, late almost 14 till like 19.
Yeah, I heard you talk about that.
Yeah, so when I was learning around the wolves, man. Like so that's why I say I didn't get into the battle scene till 2002, because that's when I got out, and I just didn't really go back again. I mean, I went back once for a little bit, and then that was like 20 years ago. But you know, when I came up, it was a real gladiator school. Like it was real deal. I was doing this with guys who were in there for like serious murder charges. Like I wasn't from Toronto, but I was in places where all the guys from Toronto would go. There was me, we had Hamilton, Kitchener, Mississauga, Toronto, you know, Brampton, all these other spots. And we would all, because there was so little room, you know, guys would be overflowing. We'd have everybody from different places, just, you know, wherever they could fit people. So it was like, there was a lot of real dope competitiveness and competition, but then there was a lot of violence. So it was like a lot of the times guys I was rapping with were like, I was rapping in like, if I made a mistake or if I said the wrong thing or if I got out of line, the consequences could have been very severe. And I never had anything. The only times I had fist fights in battles was not in. I went my whole time in never getting in a fight over a battle rap. Maybe some close to, you know, heated arguments, but like, you know, that didn't happen until I got out and I had to deal with a different breed of people inside, you know, like there was a different level of respect. We all had to stay locked up with each other. And there was only a certain amount of us that could rap like that. So it was like the circle stayed tight. That's how we killed our time. But that's what made me better was, you know, it taught me to be a wolf, bro. Like, and it also taught me how good I was.
You could tell in the music.
These were people that didn't have to tell me I'm good. Like I didn't, when I'm 16 years old, I'm just a little dude, little skinny white kid. And, you know, and dudes that I look up at the time, I mean, it's not like now, but I mean, at the time, these were guys they're in for real shit that they do in the rap music, right? They were in for that type of shit. So I looked at them like, yo, these guys are serious. And, you know, some of them passed on some real knowledge to me and kicked some real gems at me and said, like, you're really dope at this. What are you doing here? And that actually changed the way I looked at things, because I was like, these guys don't have a reason to say this to me. If anything, they have every reason not to say this to me, you know? So for guys like that to tell me, like, you're good enough, like, you're good, you have potential, go get better, go keep rapping and go do your Eminem thing. As much as I hated the Eminem part of it, but that really changed. I was like, yo, maybe I really am good enough. Maybe I really am dope enough to go out there and actually do something with it. Because it just started in jail, bro. Battle rapping in jail, winning. I want to win extra chocolate bars and ice cream sandwiches on Wednesday nights and shit. Extra desserts. That's what we battled for, bro. We just battled for like chocolate bars and desserts, and, you know, maybe some people had a little smoke, and we'd battle for that, you know. But it was raw, and it was very authentic, and it was real. And to be honest, those were the best days of my rap life, because there was nothing was on
now.
Nah, man.
Really?
I mean, I'm not saying like accomplishment wise. I just mean it was like when you look back at being a kid, man. There was no prize on the wall. There was no reputation. There was no trying to make get record deals or sell CDs. That didn't even exist to us. We had nowhere to record. I mean, we were still making mixtapes off the radio, bro, back in those days, right? So it was like, it was like pure. There was nothing. There was no prize money. there was nothing. There was just a bunch of us who had to stay and live with each other every day, whether we liked it or not. And this is what brought us together. And we just battled every day and freestyled every day. And it was fun. And it was like, and it got me through the hardest times of my life. That was like how I survived that shit. I don't know how I would have survived in those places if I didn't rap, because there were certain times where like I had a level of respect where like certain bad things didn't happen to me because I could rap though. Because I had respect from guys who were like, no, you can't. That's our little man over there. You can't fuck with him. If I didn't rap, probably would have been a lot worse for me. Wouldn't have had these guys looking out for me. You know, I wouldn't have been the little homie. I would have just been the little skinny, mouthy white kid without the rap part, right? So it played a huge role. It taught me a lot about, it taught me a lot about myself as an MC, and it has a special place in my heart because it's where it all began. And where it began there was no motivating factor. I wasn't trying to emulate. 8 Mile hadn't come out yet, so there was no trying to be like what we saw in a movie. I don't even know how I started battle rapping, bro. We didn't really have the internet then. Like couldn't just go search up battle raps on the internet back then. So it was like, I don't even know how I started battling.
That's crazy that you have no idea. You just started.
Yeah, man. Like I'm just thinking about this now. Like I don't really know. I know how I started rapping, but to try and to put in a defining moment when I realized what battle rapping was, I can't.
You must have learned it from someone or heard it from somebody doing it, right?
Probably just in there freestyling and then it just becoming a battle. And then but I can't remember distinctly that moment in my mind. Although I can remember the moment I decided I wanted to write some raps.
Oh yeah, when was that?
I was 12 when I first started with some shit. I remember this kid. He's a junkie now, unfortunately. I actually seen him a few years ago for the first time in like 20 years. It wasn't pretty, but I remember he had one of those yellow Sony Walkmans, the sports Walkman with the little thin metal earphones that went in your ears and shit. And he had Cypress Hill Black Sunday.
Great album.
And he was playing it for me. And man, to me at this point, rap music was, fucking Criss Cross, MC Hammer, and maybe House of Pain, Jump Around and whatever, real pop shit. And dude played me Black Sunday, and I was like, this is so dope. And he's like, do you want to borrow it? And I was like, yeah, I do. And I took it home and borrowed it off of him. And I was just listening to it, and I realized that like rapping was just kind of poetry over a beat. And I already wrote a lot of poetry. So I was a writer. My whole life I was a writer, And so I took some of my poetry, tried rapping it over the beat. And that's how that happened. And then I started freestyling, I don't know, 97, 98. 98 was like when I really started to do it. I met this dude. He was actually a kid I got in a lot of trouble with. He a lot of trouble. So hanging out with him was bad news from the get-go. We ended up being co-accused with each other on some shit, and we went away for a while. I never saw him again after this either. But he was the one who started teaching me to freestyle and what it meant, and like spitting bars and just going back and forth while we're out doing some criminal shit.
Bad shit. Yeah. You were young.
And we were freestyle. And that was when I learned to freestyle. We started freestyling back and forth, and he was
amazing.
And then we got arrested for that bad shit. And then I went in, and then I was like starting to freestyle. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy how it all started. That it all started from me doing a lot of bad shit. But I mean,
look at now though. Like you got to look at it that way. Like
exactly,
look at the human you are now, the man you are now. And look at the artist you are now as well, right? All those trials and tribulations going through in your life made you who you are now. And look, and you know what? The music you're putting out now is really, really great music. But you learned all that growing up. The freestyle, the jail, all the bad shit. Like, sometimes in life, these things need to happen for you to get somewhere in life, right?
Yeah, man. Well, here's something I want to say to a lot of these MCs, guys who, because the more I do, the more people hit me up, and it's like people think that this just randomly happened or something, all these things that are going on right now, and they didn't. A lot of it happened from me having to make a lot of changes and admit a lot of shit to myself. We're not in the same hip hop that we were in. So unless you're trying to sell your music to the same fans as you always were, which is just you doing the same thing you were doing before, so therefore there's no change, there's no nothing, you're just trying to do more of the same. Good luck with that. But if you're trying to find new fans and new listeners and a new network, whoever you were before, whatever accomplishments you've accomplished before, don't matter. Mm-hmm. They're part of the resume, and they're part of the cauldron of the potion of what made you who you are now. But it doesn't have any validity. And as MCs, a lot of us have had highs in our career. That was a big thing for me. I had some pretty high highs where I was very close and I was doing a lot of wild, good shit. Only shit I only dreamed of. But I made some mistakes. And I had to learn from those, and admitting that I made those mistakes, and that number one, those situations were my fault. And number two, the things that I was accomplishing around that same time that I held so close didn't matter. It was very hard, because as MCs, we want to hang on to these accomplishments. We want to say, well, I worked hard, and 8 years ago I did this. Dude, that's 8 years ago. 8 months ago barely matters right now. So whatever you did back then, let go of it and reinvent yourself.
Growth. It's called growth at the end of the day. And a lot of people don't like growing. They don't like changing. They're scared of change.
Well, but letting go of the accomplishments, to a lot of guys, I feel, means them letting go of the armor that makes them strong. Mm-hmm. And they're starting vulnerable again, because to start at the beginning and like to start from scratch and rebuild yourself means you are exposed. You're very vulnerable. One small, when you're used to guys looking at you one way when you hit them up, and then you got to hit guys up and they're pretty much looking at you like you're some nobody, you're just random Joe Blow on the internet. That's a hard thing to deal with. It really is, when believe me, I took a lot of L's on this journey here before, a lot of L's. A lot of guys left me on fucking red. A lot of guys didn't even read my messages. A lot of guys quoted me $3,000 price tags because they didn't care. You know what I mean? A lot of shit. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, I've done this and this and this and this and this, and I've worked with this guy and that guy, and I've toured this country and this country and this country and this country. And those are cool accomplishments and they're cool stories to tell people. But nobody knows that anymore. They don't matter. They don't have any validity in other people's perception of you when you're trying to approach strangers. You can't be like, yo, you should work with me because 10 years ago I toured some other country, whatever. And it's hard for us because, man, when you're a battle rapper, you're an aggressive MC, man, you wear that aggression and that armor on you all the time, and to have to be vulnerable again and be exposed to potential rejections and being viewed again as on the lower end of the totem pole, it's really hard to do. And you got to remind yourself all every day, or very consistently, what you're working toward. And then once they see you again, they'll see you. But whatever you did back in the day doesn't matter. And it doesn't mean it doesn't matter. It means to these fans, to these new kids, you can't just be like, you should listen to me because I accomplished things 10 years ago. That's ridiculous. A lot of us have been doing this for 20 years. So of course we have some accomplishments along the way, but reinventing ourselves and really trying to approach this differently. And that's the only way to do it different from however you did it before, was to take a different approach. We got to let go of that ego, man. We can rap as egotistical as we want, but as far as our perception of ourselves, we got to look at ourselves like we're beginners again. It's like taking time off the gym and thinking that just because 5 years ago you used to be able to bench press 325, but you haven't touched a single weight in 5 years, and then showing up at the gym and being mad that you can't bench, that you can barely get a plate on each side up, because you're not who you were 5 years ago. And to believe that you are who you are that you are who you were 5 years ago is just pure ego. And that's a destructive type of ego to have. And I see a lot of rappers who don't want to let go of just kind of parts of who they used to be. And I get it. It's not easy, but
It's scared of change. It's scared
Yeah.
of growing. It's scared of moving forward. People like to live in the past, man. People don't like to live in the future. People love to live in the past, and if you don't change yourself, you're never gonna grow. It's
And I
plain and
want to see
simple.
these, and I want to see guys win, because right now we have a lot of guys who are winning who aren't even a quarter as talented as some people that I know, but they're doing 10 times the work as that 4 times the talent.
Hmm.
So if someone with only a quarter of the talent is doing 10 times the work, and you have 4 times the talent, but you're doing 10 times less work, who do you think's getting ahead? Do you think the work is going to beat talent, or is talent going to beat work? The work's going to beat the talent every time, man.
Hmm.
Hard work beats talent all day, because talent without hard work is fucking nothing. It's wasted talent,
Well said. Well fucking said.
you know.
Well
And
said.
and and I don't want to see all this talent get wasted. I don't want guys to not do it the way it should be done, because they're mad at the industry, and they're mad. A lot of that is guys mad at themselves for not accomplishing what they feel they should, and they got to project it as something else, rather than going, all right, that didn't work, that didn't work, that didn't work. I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to angle off. I'm going to take a different angle at things, and I'm going to do it right this time. You know, and like I said, there's a few guys I know who are really doing that. They're really trying to give this one last hard push with every lesson they've ever learned at this. And that's the grown man shit. The
And
grown man shit is,
look at you. And look at you what you did in the last couple of years. You gave it another go, right? You gave it another go, and you've gotten to where you are now because of that,
bro,
because of
it,
thinking like that.
it was all done from fucking a basement, like in with the least amount a person could have. I had a couple of good people around me really holding me down in some really rough situations, but none of this was made in big studios with street teams
No,
and
no.
guys all around me. It was literally made in basements by myself, lonely, or with my girl trying to take care of kids, with a couple of good homies around the way who, you know, did what they could to make sure that I could, because they believed in me. But this was done with the least a person can do. So my point is that if I can do it against all odds with nothing major in my corner propelling me forward, only things trying to hold me back for the most part, you know, anybody can do it. You just have to know your worth, and you have to put in the work. And like I said, there's, when people say they put in the work, no, a lot of guys think they put in the work, but it's the difference between the guy who shows up at the gym once a day, 5 days a week to train, and then goes and fights, and the guy who shows up twice a day, 7 days a week to the gym to train, to fight. It's the difference between champions and fucking fair weathers, or casuals. You can put in work, but if you ever think you've put in enough work, you haven't put in enough work, or you're not taking the right approach. Because there's never a day where I look at things and think that, oh, I'm good, I've put in enough work this week. Because the second I stop working, I think, well, all the other guys I'm competing with, they're working right now, and I'm sitting here eating ice cream and watching fucking Netflix, and I can't enjoy it anymore, because I'm like, no, I should be working, you know.
It's the fighter's mentality that you have, right?
Essentially, you know. And
Right?
that's,
And look at now. You're even selling out your music. You're giving people great music and you're selling out your product.
yeah, that's still crazy to me to
Right?
wrap my head
Like
around.
like dude,
That's still surreal to me, man. I'm
it
still not,
but you're
still
giving
hasn't dawned on me yet,
people
really.
your music, and let's be honest, you're even giving some of these projects out for free on Bandcamp, right?
Oh
But
yeah, there's a lot of them for free on
but
Bandcamp.
you have this where you're able to give people the actual product that they could hold in their hand, the
Mm.
CD, the tape. You're selling that out. It's
Yeah, well,
amazing that that's happening.
it means the most to me, because I've never been with the streaming stuff. I've been against it from day one. I never understood it, and I won't get into that whole discussion. As we're, anybody who knows, and we don't need to, you know, will be in agreement with me. So to me, it's always been very important trying to keep physical music alive, because at the end of the day, number one, it separates real fans or real listeners and real lovers of the culture from people who, it's easy to collect music when you have the same music collection as everybody else.
Hmm.
If you on Spotify, you have the same music collection every other person who has their $12 Spotify app a month has. There's nothing unique about it. When the people who own physical music me and my girl were talking about this last night. Physical music is like a representation of somebody. You can look through their music, and judging by how much of it they have and what kinds of music they have, you can figure out a bit of who they are. When you look at what types of hip hop they listen to, what other kinds of music do they have in there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you could look at somebody, they got Zeppelin, Soundgarden, Nirvana, Pink Floyd, then Garth Brooks, Wu-Tang, Nas, fucking whatever. And then you're like, oh shit, this is a lover of music. Then you look through someone that's all BCC and fucking DOS effects and Wu-Tang. You're like, okay, this guy's a hardcore hip hop head. And then you go to someone's house and they have 4 random CDs that are thrown under their TV stand. And you're like, oh, this person doesn't really care about music at all. So you could really tell a lot about somebody by their music collection. And I always felt there was a beauty in that, in the way we used to represent ourselves through our collections of music, that now, because of the infinite Spotify streaming playlist culture we have now, we don't get to see that very often. So I had one guy today send me a picture of, he had and shout out to the Rap Museum. You know what I mean? He sent me a picture. Yo, that's a real ass motherfucker. Crazy, I'm telling you. So, but he sent me a picture of his gold tape collection. He has every gold tape that Bars Over BS ever put out.
Wow.
And then he showed me a video of his thing. Like, I'm like, this is the craziest shit. This is like,
it's nuts. Huh? His whole basement.
It's like, man, to see that just. Yeah, dude, it's crazy.
The stuff I see is the posters that he has on his wall. I'm like, I wish I could have that stuff.
Right. But he sent me the picture first, and it's like I already knew how important hip hop was to him just by that picture of that collection. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, man, it's like, to me, that was the era I came from, where music was everything. You know, the worst would be when I'd go to someone's house and I'd be like, yo, where's your CDs? And they're like, oh, I don't really have any. And they had like old Teeny Bopper CDs or some shit like that. And I would be so disappointed. I remember as a kid being like, ah, man, that's weird. Like, to me, people who didn't like music or didn't have music, hey, shh, quiet. Shh, there's no one there.
You have a dog?
Yeah. Great Dane, man. So she's just barking away.
Collecting music to me is the most important thing ever. Being able to own the product, being able to see it. Sometimes I don't even open them, I'll be super honest with you. But just having it there and looking at it and just putting it into your collection, and just it's so much more. You get to invest in the artist. The artist is giving you that product that you're able to keep with you, whether you keep it forever or you pass it along to your children or a friend or whoever.
What happens if Spotify goes down?
What if Spotify just,
right?
You're fucked.
Dude, there's a lot of people who bought movies, and then all of a sudden that movie took the licensing away from whoever they bought it from, and they can't stream it anymore through that site. And they're like, but I paid to be able to stream it forever. And it's like, yeah, well, too bad. And I'm like, well, that wouldn't happen if you just went out and bought the DVD, rather than relying on these services to keep something alive for you forever. Like, it's weird to me that people want to rely on a music collection that they can't touch.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Like, all it takes is Spotify saying, yeah, we're done, we're closing, and then you lose your whole collection. What's the point of that, man? I don't know. It's weird to me. And it was like, with vinyl, I got into vinyl. Unfortunately, I had to, like, some things happened. I had to sell my collection, which was rough, like the bulk of my collection. But vinyl is the only music in the history of music where you can touch the music. Like, you can touch it, bro. You touch those grooves. That's that's little tiny wave versions of what you would see on your computers. Huh? That's crazy that you can touch it. But not with cassette, not with CD, not with anything else. That vinyl is the only one you can touch the music. That you can touch the sound that comes out of the speaker with your finger. That's fucking crazy to me. And that's why I always felt it was the most pure form of music, because it's the only form of music where you can touch it and feel it. Like, that's a crazy idea to me, man. But then you can also put this needle on it that it'll spin it, and then you can hear it. So you can hear the I don't know, man. Imagine being able to hear your keyboard. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucked up, bro.
Have you released your stuff on vinyl yet, or just tape and CD with Bars Over BS?
I did Machine Mouth independently about a year and a half ago. I did like 25 of them, but that was a failed endeavor. I used this very shitty manufacturing place, and I feel bad for ever selling them to my listeners. So thankfully, the most of them bought them as collector pieces, not so much as like to listen to. Um, but that's the only one I really put out on vinyl. Um, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that after these releases, some of the labels, they know who they are and who I'm talking about. Hopefully they'll find some room for me and they'll give me a shot to, come out and try and, take the next step in this and move the vinyl to the heads, man. Because not everybody that collects vinyl collects CDs, and not everybody that collects CDs collects vinyl. So, I want to see, how the vinyl heads respond to the music, and I want them to have the opportunity to have it as well.
That's amazing. And I'm so appreciative of artists like yourself that release it. Like like that's why I love hip hop today, because there was a big gap. I would probably say anywhere between 2012 to 2015, 16. Maybe I'm wrong. And a lot of the artists weren't putting out the physicals. And I think Griselda brought that back to, hey, my product, I'm going to sell you the CDs, I'm going to put this on vinyl. So a lot of the artists got on board with it, and the artists now in the last couple of years, it's just continuous amounts of CDs coming out. And I could tell you now, I've spent thousands of dollars in the last few years of just buying CDs, and I'm so appreciative of you and the artists that are doing that, because I'm able to own the product that I'm
Mm.
listening to and that I respect.
I got a couple other ones, man. So if you're interested, hit me up after the show. And
Oh,
I got I
absolutely.
got I got a couple that I got some copies kicking around of Stadium Fighter and Winterborns.
Absolutely. We'll
Winter
talk after.
Winterborns was the kickoff album with DJ TMB. We went with a real dusty 90s sound with that. We wanted to hit like 95, 96 era with the sound. We got on, man, like that. We got Jamil Honesty on that, Ill Conscious, Napoleon the Legend,
Wow.
Banish, Dro Pesci, Guy Grams. Like it was a pretty loaded album. But because when we dropped that, I was just coming back. No one knew, I had nothing. So hats off to, shouts out to my bro DJ TMB for, he was the first producer to, he's the first guy to come out and want to do an album with me, and he put, some decent work into it. He brought out Conscious on and Napoleon the Legend on. They made appearances because of their relationship with him. And of course, I'm a big fan of both of those guys' music. Like when I came back as Words, I was a vinyl collector, so I was a fan first before I came back as Words. So it was like for the first time in my whole life, or since I was very young, that I just was a fan for a while. I was just buying the records, and I was just like rediscovering this. Like I bought J Royale, the Baltimore Housing Project, like the day it
Love that
dropped.
project.
It was the first batch of like new wave underground that I bought. And I remember hearing that and losing my fucking mind. And I bought Jamil Honesty and Hobgoblin Martyr Music too.
Fucking great.
At the same time, I bought them in the same pack, and I didn't even know what I was getting into. I went to uh, YouTube or something. And I threw on a couple joints, and I was like, "Yo, I like this. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna buy these." And I didn't even listen to the whole album because I wanted to get it in the mail and listen to it. It's weird to me to listen to a whole album in the comfort of your living room and then decide if you want to buy it.
I just buy. Fuck it.
Right. If as long as there's a couple joints I know on it, I'm like, yeah, okay, and buy it. So I got to be a fan again first for a bit before I came back with the Words thing, because I was still doing the walkout music shit at this time, and I was just getting back into the hip hop, and it was like rediscovering all this shit for the first time. So I did Griselda, Cloth, J Royale, Umbrella wasn't even on the map yet at the time. Like as far as on the vinyl labels and stuff, it was Supreme Cerebral, J Royale, Body Bag Band, Daniel Son, Mav, Riggs, Mooch, Smooth, Ty Ferris. Those were like the primary Guy Grams. Those were like the primary guys I came up listening to in the wave first before I started making music. So of course they were guys I wanted to work with. So it was like Guy Grams, Ill Conscious, Napoleon the Legend, Jamel Honesty, Mickey Dine. Like, it just, the checklist of guys that I wanted to work with as a fan before I was emceeing, it was crazy. And so to have been able to put so many of those names onto the resume and say, you know, and back in the day, it used to be this thing, because again, there was a different level of ego where it was like, I had to put that out there and all the time and let everybody know all these guys I was working with, because it was like Apathy and Self-Titled and Reef the Lost Cause, a lot of guys who were really popular at the time, and I was fucking with them on a real level. Where
Are they some of your influencers?
For a time they were. For a time, Apathy was definitely an influence. A lot of guys tell me I do a lot of alliteration, and I don't mean to, because I don't really consciously like think, okay, how do I want to do? I just write, and wherever it takes me, it takes me. Like, I don't have a very precise writing process. Like, I don't sit down and scribble a bunch of notes and then decide what ideas or what things I want to touch on. I just start writing. Once I got that first bar or two, then everything just moves in. But I do a lot of alliteration, apparently, people tell me. And I definitely, if that's true, I mean, I know I do sometimes, but guys are like, man, you do alliteration all the time. I love it when you do that shit. You're so dope with it. I definitely would have got that from Apathy.
Oh, for sure.
He was the master at it. So, I mean, if it's flown and made its way into my shit, I mean, wicked. Definitely, you know, me and App don't like each other, but that's all good. You know what I mean? He's still one of the dopest guys in this rap shit to do what
Apathy
they do.
Self-Titled.
Yeah, man. You know,
so much great shit. So much great shit, man.
Yeah, Self was like this. Self is like a whole character. And
Yeah.
I think hip hop was at a real high point when we had guys like Self-Titled and MF Doom representing hip hop. R.A. the Rugged
sure.
Man. We had these big characters, these big personalities.
Necro.
Yeah, I guess
He was a character.
He was definitely a character, but he was like, it was rare to ever see the character of Necro.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he was like always in the shadows. You never really saw much of him, you know. But guys like, you know, R.A. and Self was in everybody's face all over the place from like what, 2008, 2014 maybe. He was like on everything.
Even before that, like when he had the beefs with Cage. It's been a minute. It's been a minute.
That was back in like that was like No Place Like Chrome days and shit with Apathy, right?
Yeah.
So that would have been like 2006, 2005, 2006 or something like that, right?
I was a huge Cage fan. Huge Cage fan.
Yo, I never got into him. And I tried so hard, man. I tried so hard to be a fan of him because I love the cinematic nature of a lot of his earlier stuff.
The horror movie aspect and concepts on his albums.
Yeah, but I just could never get into him as a rapper, man. I just couldn't do it. You know, there's a lot of guys, and here's the thing. A lot of motherfuckers are weird, I think, and they're like, just because they don't like somebody's particular style, the guys will say, yo, that guy's whack.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but he's not whack. You just don't like him.
Exactly.
I never got with that, man. And I also never got with when dudes had a problem with somebody else as a rapper, immediately they would start shit talking their talent. I'm like, dude, shut up. Last week you told me that guy was one of the best you ever heard.
Exactly.
And now because he tried to fuck your girl and now he's whack and he sucks and shit. Like, miss me with that shit. So I always try and keep it a buck with people, man. I'll never say somebody's whack if we know they're not, even if I have my own personal shit with them, you know what I mean? And definitely just because someone's not my particular style doesn't, I feel like that's the sign of an artist. An artist can see talent in other genres or even other artistry that isn't their particular flavor. Just because I don't want to listen to it in my free time doesn't mean I can't listen to it and be like, wow, that person's got a lot of talent with what they're doing over there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It's just hate at the end of the day, or just bullshit, to be honest with you.
I think it's the difference between rappers and artists, man. You know, and I feel that the term artist gets thrown around too much in the rap world, in the hip hop world, because I'm like, most of you aren't artists. You're not an artist. You're never growing. There's no evolution to you. There is no bearing any soul. There's no trying to show us. That's why I love Mav, man. Like Mav to me he's in my top 5 of dudes in any form of underground, period. Because there's a level of showing you his vulnerable side while still maintaining strength and masculine honor or humility in his music. And that's an artist. If you listen to Mav's music, you can hear his growth. You can hear the different versions of himself in the different albums he's making. And he's very open with it online as well, which I got a lot of love for. But that's the sign of an artist. Then you have guys who just,
you stand out, right? You stand out when you do stuff like that. And that's why Mav stands out. That's why he has so many good projects, so many good albums. It's because he stands out and he's able to grow within.
Same with Ty Ferris.
Oh,
he's very similar to Mav in his. There's a lot of depth. You can feel the pain or the experience in the pain. So a lot of guys want to talk about shit, but you can feel how that it's hollow. That it's either them representing a character or telling some Hollywood style story, and then guys like Ty or like Mav, where you can feel that there's a lot of sincerity and actual. That they've seen with their eyes the shit that's coming out of their mouth. You know what I mean? And I got a different level of respect for that, because guys who can play the part, but they're not playing a part, that's what it's all about. There's a lot of dudes playing a part, and that's cool. I mean, it's the entertainment industry. It's not the authenticity industry, you know?
And the way I see it is to each their own. But if you don't want to grow, then you know what? It's not for you. That's the way I see it. At the end of the day, look, I'm not an artist. I just listen to the music. I respect the music. I do the podcast, so like I'm able to speak my mind on what I listen to. But if artists aren't growing, then why are we gonna listen to them again? Why are if we're not growing with them, if we're not growing with their sound, then why are we continuing with them, right? You want difference in your artist.
The worst is the artists that don't grow. They're just changing with what they see as a curve. And a lot of guys said that to me. They're like, you need to grow more and change with the times. And I'm like, but growing and changing with the times aren't exclusive to one another. They're actually not even related. Changing with the times means you're trying to only make music that is relative to a certain time period or to what is considered pop culture or socially acceptable. To grow as an artist means to just to grow or to evolve or to shed old skin and develop new skin that is based off of, you know, lessons learned or rebirth from old shit. And that's what I look for in guys that I listen to. I want to hear growth, man. Like there's a lot of dudes that have hit me up over the last 6 months that want to work. And I'm like, bro, like, I'd be down to work if it was years ago when we were just making music for the fun of it and just rapping shit. But like, there's no growth in anything, any part of you. I don't even feel like you and I are the same person anymore. And I feel like, again, you want to use what I did organically, and you want to kind of leech off of it, or you want to try and what's the word I'm looking for?
They just want to feed off of your energy and where you're at that moment.
Yeah, there's a word I'm looking for, and it's very rare that words doesn't have the word that he's looking for. Anyway, they essentially just want to live off you in the third person, or use your fire to try and light their fire, and without them providing anything back, and that's just taking from you for their own benefit, like an energy vampires type shit, right? And so that's it. All ties into, like I was saying, when I'm looking for, I'm only looking to work with certain guys who have a certain work ethic that's based on a certain code of honor or a certain code of ethics, you know, and guys who've shown that they're growing as men. I want to work with people that I can respect them as men the same way I can respect them as an artist. You know, like, again, because you just get to a point in this where you've been doing it long enough, and you've done enough shit with enough people and made enough mistakes that a lot of shit you used to care about, you don't. A lot of shit you didn't care about before, you do. You know, and you know that you don't have time for anything that isn't working for you or helping you or keeping you on a path of evolution. And you know, nothing will stunt evolution faster than engaging or connecting yourself with people that aren't doing what you're doing, you know, or aren't providing what you're providing. And it's a great thing. I'm going to give them their shot, or, you know, maybe if they hang out with me enough, or they, you know, start making music with me, they'll get motivated. They won't. They will only take from you and pull you away and stunt your time frame and you reaching your goal. You know, like, the idea of us all helping each other is great, but only if everything is reciprocated back and forth in a balance, not this, you know, we're all here to hold each other down. And it's like that, you know, you end up with a lot of people who just sit around waiting for someone else to extend their hand to pull them up. You know, they're not helping to build the ladder.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah, there's a level of artist / human I'm only looking to work with, you know, like, so if I don't respect you as a grown man, I'm not going to work with you as an artist, and vice versa. You know, if I don't respect you as an artist, I'm not going to fuck with you on a human level.
Brother, before we get up out of here, I usually play a quick game with the guests.
Okay.
It's top 5 in 5 seconds. So for you, your top 5 battle rappers.
Oh, bro. Pat Stay, Iron Solomon,
Wow.
Immaculate, fuck. I don't really fuck with anybody beyond that, man. Like, yeah, for real. That'd be it. Pat Stay, Iron Solomon, and I mean Iron Solomon, like Smack DVD Iron Solomon. Back in the day, like fucking $50 rap battles on street corner type shit. Him and Thesaurus going at each other for $50. You know what I mean? That shit. You know, yeah, that's you got 3 out of me, bro.
Your top 5 Muay Thai fighters.
Oh man, Diesel Noy, Liam Harrison, Dennis Bosnian, Menace Puric, Samar Sagat, fucking yeah. There's more, man. There's more, but
And since you're from Canada, your top 5 favorite Canadian artists. I had to do that one.
David Usher.
That's amazing. Wow.
Gord Downey.
100%.
Brian Adams. Red One from the Rascals. And Mocha Only from Swollen Members.
Amazing. Amazing. So, what's next for you? What's next this year?
We got the sequel to Weapon X coming up.
Oof.
So that'll be coming the same way as the others. That's done. That's in. We'll keep you tuned in. So that's High Q and I back with the sequel to Weapon X.
That's exciting.
Me and Dark Arts are working on the sequel to Curse Words and Dark Hearts.
That's exciting.
That
being my favorite project.
I have an album with Al Capella that's done as well. That's got some surprise guests that are gonna fuck some people up when they see who I brought onto that album. And those are and I got an album with Supreme to Almighty that we're just finishing, trying to get mixed up. So those are the primary albums I got, where they're recorded. They're either recorded and mixed. Those are all, you know, and like I said, the only one that's not is me and Dark Arts working on the sequel to that, because we had to get all the bonus joints done for the physical release. So now we're doing the sequel.
Sold out. If you didn't get your copy, you're screwed.
there is a good succession of music for the rest of the year.
It's amazing.
So thanks to anybody who tunes into this and who grabbed a copy of Curse Words and Dark Hearts or Weapon X from Bars Over BS. Like, thank you. I mean, that shit means it's only because of you guys that we're continuing on and able to put out more music, confidently put out more music, and have a home for them to go out to. You know, nobody's out there to sign the best artists or work with the best artists because of the goodness in their heart. We're all trying to run businesses. So without the fans showing up and the fans coming out and grabbing copies, I wouldn't be doing stuff. We wouldn't be continuing on. So it's only because of you guys showing support that, labels and other people want to keep supporting what I'm doing. So, you guys keep it alive. And that's really what it boils down to. The fans are the most important thing in all of this. All the other shit we talked about tonight doesn't matter, because again, it goes back to the talent. You can be the most talented guy in the world, but if nobody's buying it or if nobody's listening to it, it doesn't matter. So the fans are everything. So thank you to all you motherfuckers who came through and showed out. Like I said earlier, man, I'm still trying to wrap my head around like sellouts and stuff. Like that's a crazy idea to me. So
You did it, man. That's amazing. It's amazing. It's a fantastic accomplishment to have. And I appreciate
shout out
you
to
being
IQ,
here.
man. He mixed and mastered everything. So like
Sound is crisp, huh? Sounds
he's
really
incredible, man. He adds in a lot of the movie clips and a lot of the little things and little tiny eggs and shit that happen within. Those are his ideas. Those are things he takes care of in the mixing process, and he's doing all of this shit. He's making it happen. So I can record all this music all I want, and I can write it, but without him, it wouldn't exist. So, shout out to him. I'm telling you, anybody who's working on music, like, he brings visions to life. That's why I call him the mad genius. Like, he brings a vision to life and he puts his own personal touch in it. So you're always getting someone who cares about what they're doing. He really cares. So even if he doesn't know you and you're just hiring him to do the work, he cares about the work because his name is attached to it. You don't get a lot of people that put that personal touch into their work like that.
You could tell.
Not, so, he's obviously, his beats are dope. So he's highly recommended for me that if you got a vision and you want it to be seen out and you want it to be hit with and touched by an engineer who's going to not only make it sound dope, but actually like give it some love and some real artistic passion, he's the guy, man. He's the fucking guy. High Q all day, the mad genius, the man in the midnight black lab coat. You know what I'm saying? So, and then shout outs to Dark Arts and to everybody else we're making music with. But Dark Arts is an incredible producer, man. We did that shit very much on the fly. He's a great dude to work with, man. I loved working with him and making music with him. He's, sees the vision. So, shout outs to everybody else holding us down, and Cop Copies, who's sharing our shit, who even cares to talk about me like I'm a dope MC. I appreciate it. And we ain't shit without you guys. So
absolutely, man. And I really, really appreciate you being here, giving me the time of day for this.
Same ways.
I am your host, the Ayatollah of Hip Hop, the whole damn show, the Rated R podcaster, and one half the podcast tag team champions of the world, with my special guest. The Bully is back. Words is back. I can call you the Canadian heavyweight champion. Words. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Same ways to you, man. Appreciate you, my man.
Peace.
Mad love. Peace on you.